All right, we are back from our break. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome to UCF's virtual open house. For those of you who are coming back and returning from the financial aid session, thank you for returning and welcome back to you. This session is something that we're calling Know Before You Go, and I'm really going to leave it to the subject matter experts to talk to you about their respective areas and give a brief overview of what they do and maybe some tips for transitioning from high school to UCF. But that really is what we are attempting to do here, is to give you just a little bit of information prior to orientation, before you actually enroll at UCF, some tips and tricks and tools for you to help you be successful and make sure that that transition is as smooth as possible. So we're joined today by a representative from the Office of Housing and Residence Life from the First Year Experience Office, and we're rejoined by with Kiana Machado from the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. And so the three of them I will call on to introduce themselves. If they want to turn their video and mics on at this point, they're going to give just a brief introduction to their office and talk to you a little bit about what they do. And then we'll go right into questions and answers in about 15 minutes once they're finished with their brief presentations. So same rules apply. Ask the questions in the Q&A. The live transcript feature is available for you using the closed captioning button down at the bottom of your screen. If you require that, go ahead and turn that on now. This session, as well as the previous session and all of our other sessions for our virtual program, are being recorded, and those recordings will be provided through links on the agenda website they actually used to log into this Zoom session today. So without further ado, I would like to ask Sandra Brash to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about housing and residence life.
Sure. So I work with housing. I have been with our department for over 10 years now. So hopefully I'll have the answers to all of your questions. Couple of things we want you to know about housing just briefly, and then also, of course, there is a separate housing session tomorrow where you're going to learn a lot more if you attend. But briefly, what we would love for you to know now is that if you have not had your student apply for housing yet and you intend for them to live on campus this fall, now is the time to do that. Campus does not have enough space for every incoming student who wants to live on campus. There is plenty of housing in the nearby area, but if your student wants to live on campus, now is definitely the time to apply. Housing is first come, first served at UCF, and it is not required. So go ahead and sign up. Room selection happens online. All of our students have the opportunity to go in to our system and choose their own room, choose their own roommates, and that happens pretty soon. So room selection runs May through August, and we are going to be sending out room selection appointments in the next few weeks here. In order to sign up for housing, you do need to put down a prepayment. If your student is starting in the fall, that prepayment is $250. You can use financial aid toward that. You can use Florida prepaid dormitory toward that, or you can put it on credit card, cash, whatever you prefer. The application is not complete without that prepayment, so make sure you put that in when you finish the application process. Once you've applied, you want to look for a confirmation date, so your status for your application will update to confirmed. What that means is that your student is guaranteed a space in the type of housing that they applied for. We do want everybody to be absolutely sure they understand what type of housing they're signing up for. We have academic year housing, which is fall, spring only. And then we have several communities that are annual, which is fall, spring, and the following summer. If your student is starting in summer B, that is a separate housing agreement. We treat it kind of like summer camp, only 6 weeks. Other than that, there's so much to learn on our website. We want you to be sure and check out the process for finding roommates, the room sign-up process. We are going to be updating the move-in pages of our website frequently throughout the summer, so we ask that you check that out. and check it again and check it again. The roommate dates for summer and fall have not yet been posted. That is because we as a university are still finalizing our plans for what testing will be at move-in for COVID. That has been a precaution we've taken the last several semesters, and university leadership is getting that worked out right now. So as soon as we have all that finalized, we'll be able to post the move-in dates. Other things, we just want you to go ahead and check out all the move-in prep information. I know a lot of you are already starting to shop and pack, so go ahead and do that. So that's housing. And I know, Chris, I went on a lot, but that's the quick version.
That's great, Sandy. Thank you so much. And I can already see a lot of housing questions are rolling in here in the Q&A. So we'll try our best to get to as many of those as we can. But I'd like to turn it over to Jenny Karpinski with the First Year Experience Office to introduce herself and talk to you a little bit about orientation prep. Jenny.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Karpinski. I work with First Year Experience. I'm one of our program coordinators there. We are so excited to welcome you through our orientation program. Really looking forward to it. And I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions regarding orientation. So hopefully we can get those all answered, but I am going to do a brief run through of what you all can expect with the orientation process for both students and our families and guests as well. But quickly, just to do a brief overview of our department, First Year Experience. Within our department, we have orientation, and we focus on orientation with our first year and transfer students. And then we also have the Pegasus Parent Program. So parents and families, you can stay connected with what your students are doing through our Pegasus Parent Program, and all that additional information of what we do within our department is located on our website as well. I will pop that in the chat here in a minute, but just to quickly go over your orientation experience, what you all can expect. There are 4 steps to our orientation process. So step 1 is making sure that you are registering for orientation. So if you have not yet already registered for orientation, making sure that you are doing that. It can be found on our orientation website through the First Year Experience website. When you register, you'll want to make sure you select your specific student type and campus. So first year student main campus, making sure that we're downtown, making sure that you're selecting that when registering. So that's step 1. And if you ever have any questions about registration for orientation, you can reach out to our department. We are constantly checking emails to make sure that all of our students are successfully registering for their orientation. Our email is FYE, as in First Year Experience, @ucf.edu. So that's step 1, registering for orientation. Step 2 is completing your orientation web course. So within 24 hours of registration, you will be put into an orientation web course. So within that 24 hours, you'll see an orientation web course pop up on webcourses.ucf.edu website. We want to encourage you all to complete that web course before your orientation date. Within that web course, it's broken up into 2 parts. Part 1 is information about UCF and campus life and everything you need to know about UCF and our departments. And then part 2 is about academic advising in your specific college or major. So we want to make sure that you all are going through that web course. Highly encourage you all take that time to really look through the web course. It has a lot of great information on there, and many of your questions will be answered, I'm sure, through that web course as well, if you're also interested in learning more about this specific departments. So that's step 2. Step 3 is attending your UCF Success Session. So you all have probably noticed, if you've registered for orientation, that we have something called the UCF Success Session. And then we also have advising and enrollment dates. So orientation will be 2 days for you all. So day 1 is that success session. Within that success session, we have a lot of variety of things for you all to attend. And it really is to help you prepare for your first year, to help you become successful. That's why we've called it your success session. So within it, we have O-team small groups, which are led by our orientation leaders, who are student leaders, who are very knowledgeable about the student experience. Those small groups are meant to educate you all, to also allow you to meet other students who will be there online as well. We have a Spirit and Traditions presentation for you to learn about all of the UCF Spirit and Traditions that we have here. We also have a student success panel. So if you have questions during your orientation or about UCF or student life there, that is where you can go to get them answered by the experts, by some of our campus partners and students. And then we also have something called virtual visits. So we will have a variety of campus partners that have pretty much like open office hours. We're calling them the virtual visits. So if you're interested in learning more about fraternity and sorority life, you can go to their virtual visit. Same thing with our other departments. SARC, for example, our Student Academic Resource Center. If you're wondering about what tutoring looks like, that's what you can go there to really just visit all of our departments. So your UCF success session is focused on that. And then the next day you will attend your advising enrollment session. Here at that session, you will be able to meet with your academic college, participate in schedule planning and advising, and then register for classes all on that same day. Both days start at 8:30 a.m. So make sure that when you are participating in your 2-day orientation process, that you are making sure that your schedule is clear for you to participate in all aspects. We always encourage people to make sure you're in a space where the Wi-Fi works well, that's quiet, that you can really focus on the orientation aspects. But those are the key components, those 4 steps of making sure that you're all prepared for orientation. And then if any of your family members or guests of orientation are curious about their process, just to quickly highlight, it is a completely separate process than the student orientation date. So if you have family members or guests who have registered as well, they will not have any scheduled programming during your 2 orientation dates. It is a completely separate program for them to register for. They will have access to their own Canvas account where they will be able to have all of their UCF resources there to read. We also have webinars throughout the summer for our family members and guests at a variety of times throughout the summer for them to have their full experience and also watch the recordings of all of our webinars too. So that is something to note, is that it is a separate program for our family members and guests, but we hope that they also register as well. And then if you do have any other questions about orientation, similar to Sandra, that we are excited to answer any questions that you have at the time we have left. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Jenny. And last but not least, Kiana, talk to us a little bit about some things that students should be looking to do from the admissions side of the house in terms of wrapping up loose ends and getting ready to start here.
Absolutely. So good afternoon. Again, so I'm Kiana Machado with admissions. So some important things to know in the next step. So first and foremost, if you have not already done so, be sure to submit that enrollment deposit. It is $200, but it's going to be applied towards your first semester's tuition. The deadline is May 3rd to go ahead and submit this over. Now, if you do qualify for a waiver, we are able to waive that for you as well. You can just go ahead and send us an email, connect with us, and we'll be happy to give you more information on the waiver request process. And actually, in order to register for orientation, you have to submit that enrollment deposit. So definitely an essential component in the next steps. And also be mindful of your immunization record. So to actually register for your courses, this does have to be in before the orientation course registration begins. So connect with our Student Health Services department. They can definitely give you more information, or you can even Google, honestly, UCF immunizations is going to be that very first link. Give you information on how you can download that form and how to go ahead and upload the completed form to be able to get taken care of. In residency, it is very important to establish your residency for tuition purposes. So that's to determine whether we're going to charge you as an in-state or an out-of-state. There is a substantial difference. So if you are an in-state resident, you want to make sure you have that updated to make sure that once you get your statements, so your fees, that you are being charged the correct amount for tuition purposes. And then your Knight's email account, it is very important to also go ahead and sign up for one. So for example, your professors, they will only connect with you through that Knight's email. So please be sure to go ahead and sign up. That way you are getting all important communications from the university and you have all information that you need. And then it's also very important to remember to get us all required final items. So students, you probably did not have to submit your official high school transcript we did the Spark form, but we will need that official transcript once it does become available at the end of the year that has your graduation date and all final courses reflected on there. So we can go ahead and application file. We will also need your official AP, IB, and ACE scores to be able to give you this credit, as well as any dual enrollment training you may have to provide, because we do accept this credit as well. We need all of these items in before the start of classes to avoid a hold on your student account, which will not only impact your future registration, but also disbursement of your financial aid funds. So it's very important to keep on top of that, monitor your CF portal to make sure that we have these final documents from you and that there's nothing pending on your accounts. Definitely the key takeaway is to monitor that portal as well, because any important communication is also or available to you through there. And that is it for me. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kiana. So we're going to jump into the Q&A now. The rest of our hour is going to be spent really answering the questions that you feel are most important and that are going to provide you with the most information to get ready to enroll here. So I can tell Sandy that it's going to be a busy 45 minutes for you specifically. I'll try to maybe summarize some questions together if I can sift through them all. But let's start off first with what you need to do before you can even think about housing, and that is applying. How much more time do students have to apply for housing, and is there a deadline to do so?
Ooh, how much more time is an interesting question. So at UCF, there are no deadlines for housing applications. We have rolling applications and we continue accepting as long as we have space. We are running out of space for the housing located on our main campus. We do still have spaces at our Rosen campus, which is the hospitality campus. It's about 45 minutes from the main campus. And we also have space at our downtown campus, which is our newest housing. That has quite a few different types of housing still available in that area. And that is about 25 minutes from the main campus. We never know exactly how quickly our spaces will fill, but based on our current occupancy numbers, my best guess is within the next few weeks, we will have to start holding off on confirming applications for the main campus. So I hope that helps. The application process, if your student is coming here in the summer, as I said before, it's a separate housing agreement. We're not going to run out of space for summer B housing. So if you are, working to make all of the different deposits and fees right now, I strongly suggest going ahead and signing up for your fall housing. Just click the skip button when you get to that summer B portion, and then you can come back later anytime up until summer B and add that on if you need to, because summer B is a separate contract with a separate prepayment. So that is $100 for summer B, and then as I said before, $250 for the fall. Now that money does come out of the rent. So it's not in addition to the posted rent, it's just literally a prepayment of a portion of the rent so that you can go ahead and submit your application. Did I get all the parts of your question, Chris?
I think so, and if not, you'll hear about it. So can you, there are a lot of questions about move-in dates. So people are anxious to know, when can they start moving in? What will move-in look like? I know that for the past 2 semesters, move-in looked very different from traditional non-kind of COVID time move-in. So can you talk to us about a little bit about what families can expect for move-in, what that time frame might be? And there was also a question about the different campuses. Does move-in coincide with one another regardless of which campus you're on, Rosen, downtown, or main campus?
Great question. And everything is sort of unprecedented this year. So I want to be as specific as I can. We have always moved in all of our campuses at the same time. So for starters there, In the last year, we have started issuing move-in appointments. That is something that students would sign up for. They would go online and select the date and time that they would like to arrive. I anticipate that we will likely have move-in appointments again for summer B at least. Pre-COVID, there were no appointments to move in. Everybody got a range of dates and they chose when they arrived. Because we have had testing requirements, everybody did have to test for COVID prior to move-in for the last 2 semesters. We anticipate that will be the case for at least summer B and likely for fall. This spring, our most recent move-in, what we did was the rapid test for COVID. And so students were able to sign up for a testing and move-in date, all one time, one appointment. And that date and time was when they were supposed to arrive on campus for their COVID test. Once that was completed, they went from the centralized testing location to their housing community, and that's where they would get their keys encoded and complete check-in and go ahead and move into their building. Now, with all that in mind, we are working with the vendor that we worked with in spring to determine what the process will be for summer B and then later for fall. We do anticipate it will be very similar to spring. So if you go on our website now, all of the spring move-in information is still there because we have not yet been able to update for summer or fall information. So all of the details about the testing, about arrival, about what to expect in the spring are more than likely going to be very similar this summer. The only difference would be spring is a very small move-in for us. We only have a few spaces available. During the summer, we're going to have a lot more people moving in, and so it will probably be a slightly wider range of dates. In an ordinary year, students would move in for the 3 days prior to classes starting in summer B. We anticipate it will be a little more than 3 days. Once we have those dates confirmed, the range of dates will be posted. And at the time that we post that range of dates, we're hoping to also post the appointment sign up. So you're looking at 3 to 4 days before the start of classes for summer B. And in fall, again, many, many more people moving on campus. So it's going to depend on how many appointments we can fit in each day for COVID testing. We're expecting several thousand per day. So we're looking right now at a range of probably 5 to 7 days of move-in in the fall, and it will be the days prior to fall classes starting. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. But you just opened up a can of worms with all the COVID talk. So
Yeah.
let's dispense with that now, because it's not a real fun topic to talk about, although admittedly very, very necessary. And I will kind of let you off the hook a little bit by saying, I don't know if the university really has come up with a lot of the answers. We will, though, for those of you who are viewing, have a representative from Student Health Services who will be joining our parent panel, and that will be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And she may be able to provide some more definitive information regarding COVID testing and vaccination requirements. But since we're on the topic, can you tell us if you know anything about vaccination requirements for living in campus communities, and if testing will be required for those who can show proof of vaccination? Do you know anything about those? Those were kind of the two questions that I saw a lot of coming up in the last 90 seconds or so.
To answer to the best of my ability, I have heard lots about them, but I also know that the final decisions have not been made. The leadership from Housing, Student Health Services, and a few other campus departments are meeting regularly to review what the guidelines are right now. There has not been a determination at the university level as to whether or not vaccinations will be required and whether or not a vaccination will exempt someone from testing. What I can share is that we are anticipating that the current COVID guidelines in place for housing will remain in place for the summer and at least the fall semester. So wearing facial coverings, we currently have a very limited guest policy, and there are a couple of other guidelines in the community living guide for housing. We don't anticipate any of those housing specific guidelines changing for the summer or the fall, if that helps.
Sorry about that. We've all done that, right? How does the current guest policy relate to check-in or move-in, and specifically to parents and friends and extended family helping students to carry in all of their goods during the move-in process as it stands right now?
Great question. For the last 3 semesters of move-in, we have had a move-in policy of 2 helpers. That includes parents. So if you want 2 parents to come, they're your 2 helpers. If you're in a situation where you have younger siblings and they cannot stay home while you're moving in, we would ask that you call or email us just so that we can be aware of the situation, but we have made some exceptions for underage siblings in addition to 2 adult helpers. But that has been the restriction for the last couple of semesters. I don't anticipate that changing. We also, just so everyone is aware, we have very large rolling bins for move-in. They're something that we bring in from a warehouse and they go back. They're not around all the time. But for summer and fall move-in, we anticipate having those rolling bins available. And they're quite large. You can fit the entire contents of the trunk of a single car in one. So they help with the unloading process a great deal. So we have not had significant concerns from students in the past couple of semesters. As far as just having the 2 helpers, it's been more than enough help. I know that moving can seem very intimidating, and I know we've had students coming with U-Hauls and giant trucks and things, but I would say check out our packing list online. It definitely helps simplify the list of things you need to bring, and the bins and the 2 helpers, usually everybody's good to go.
Great, thank you. All right, so we'll give you a break and shift topics to orientation. So Jenny, can you talk to us a little bit about these web courses that you mentioned? How does a student find them? Maybe a little bit more about what the expectations are for completing them. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. First of all, I wanted to put in the chat for everyone, like I said earlier, our email is there, fye@ucf.edu, and the website where you can find the orientation registration. The web courses for orientation, like I said, will appear on students' web course dashboard 24 hours after registering for orientation. I'm going to put the website to web courses for students in the chat as well. It's webcourses.ucf.edu. Students will go there, they will log in with their NID and their password, and it should pop up the dashboard. The title of it is UCF FTIC Virtual Orientation dash whatever your college or major is, students. So you will click on that. There are 2 parts to the web course, like I mentioned earlier. Part 1 is more UCF focused and resources. Part 2 is the advising and what to expect with that. Part 2 will actually not drop until April 30th. I'm really glad there's a question about this because students, you will not see part 2 quite yet. So take a look closer to April 30th. You still have some time to complete that. The web course is required to be completed before orientation. So I definitely suggest students start working on it now. There are a variety of quizzes throughout that will, as you go through them, open up the variety of sections. But again, part 2 will not actually show up until April 30th. What you can expect on the web course is, like I said, UCF department information, but then also there's actual information about what the actual orientation day will look like. So students, you'll see that there is going to be a schedule on there for your UCF success session that includes all of the links there, because again, this summer, everything is completely virtual. So all of the links are listed there for that. And then when it comes to the college and advising session, students, you will receive more information from your college the day prior to your advising session. They will be emailing you to your night's email, the link for your specific session, or sometimes they actually put it on the announcements through web courses. So biggest piece of advice with the web course is to get through it before your orientation date. So that way you know all of your UCF information. You can come with questions because we have people there to help. And then that way you also know what to expect during your orientation process as well. And that's where you will find all of the links and additional information for all of your advising sessions. But again, as we get closer to orientation, we really want you all to just be so excited to come and just to learn all about UCF. So we actually have a virtual information desk during our orientation sessions. So if at any point during the student success session or the academic advising and registration day, you have any questions, come and we'll speak to you all. There's a link on the web course there as well for you to come and speak with professional staff or our orientation leaders who will help you along the way with whatever questions you have.
Great, thank you. So my own personal experience from exploring the orientation website, I didn't see any dates that were listed there. I think you have to begin the registration process in order to see that. So for those folks who maybe haven't already submitted the enrollment deposit and can't begin the registration process, can you just talk to us about when orientation for summer and fall will begin? When, you know, what kind of time frame are they looking at to being able to start those orientation sessions?
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris, and you're right. We don't have them listed anywhere on our website. We do want you all to start your registration process to see, and it really is because our orientation sessions do have a capped amount on each session. So it's constantly changing based on when our students are registering. So in order to keep it streamlined, we decided to keep it all on the back end with registration. But to give you all a heads up, you will see orientation sessions that span from May to all the way through July and August time, early August time. So our first FTIC, in fact, is on, oh gosh, off the top of my head, May 14th, 13th, one of those days. But mid-May through July, early August. So it really does span throughout the summer. And like I said, they are filling up as people are registering for them. So just as soon as you can, I definitely recommend registering for orientation. That way you have access to your web course right away. You can start working on that. And then also you can make sure that you get a date that works with your summer schedule as well.
Great. So I know that Kiana had mentioned something about a fee waiver for the $200 enrollment deposit. Does a similar waiver exist for orientation, and what should families do if they find themselves in a financial situation where they're unable to pay those registration fees?
Yeah, that's a great question. So any questions regarding our fee waivers or any inquiries about that, I would recommend emailing us at fye@ucf.edu. Again, I put the email in the chat. We are checking our emails. We have a great staff of student assistants who are working to clear our inboxes within 24 to 48 hours. So we really do try to get all of your questions answered thoroughly. And one of our things that we like to do is to look into those types of fee waiver inquiries. So if email us, we will look into it. We'll talk to you about some options if they are available for you. So that would be my best recommendation.
Terrific. Thank you. Kiana, let's chat a little bit about residency. Can you talk to us just very, very briefly about why residency is so important? There are kind of three statuses, as I understand it, that are possible. You can either be confirmed as a Florida resident, a non-Florida resident, or be in this pending status. Why is it important to get out of pending, and how would a student or family go about confirming their residency if they find themselves in that pending status presently?
Of course. I mean, it's definitely important to get yourself out of that pending because even if you're a Florida resident and you're pending, they're going to charge you non-Florida fees since we really don't know where you stand. So it's really important to connect with our residency team, and they can let you know what items are still needed from you to be able to update you accordingly. Now, typically you would have received notification from them letting you know what items are required, but if you haven't heard from them, that's totally fine. You can reach out to them at residency@ucf.edu, and they can go through your file to let you know what items you would have to supply to have that status updated to Florida. Not it's possible for a student to be a non-Florida and still be in that pending status. And that just means that based upon the information reviewed in your application, we're not 100% sure which status you're going to have. So in that case as well, you would have to connect with residency and then just let them know you're non-Florida, and they'll let you know what you would have to supply, if anything in that case, to just go and update you to non-Florida. That way, once you do register for your courses and you get that fee invoice, you're being charged the correct amount for tuition fees.
And just to be clear for everyone, if that pending status remains pending past the payment deadline, it's out of state fees for you, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you. If a student, and I think this might be a two-part question for maybe you and Jenny together, to be completely honest, I don't know at what point it might switch. If a student is wanting to change their major, how would they go about doing that?
So once a student, Jenny. Once a student has submitted the enrollment deposit to undergraduate admissions, we're no longer able to make any changes to the major. The system, unfortunately, just won't allow us to do so. So at that point, you have one of two options. So definitely the first one is the preferred, to go ahead and update your major through the MyUCF portal. So you would go on there, go to student self-service, you do change major request, and just submit that, and it'll be confirmed by our registrar's office once they have made those changes. That way, you know, going into orientation, you're going to be placed with the correct college. You may also, if you're still weighing different options, do it during orientation, but definitely want to make sure going into the orientation session, you're placed with the correct college so you can get the correct advising and register for the courses that you actually need. Now, if you have not us yet, which hopefully you will soon, you can send us an email and then we can go ahead and make that update on your file.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. So I think, again, this is, well, it's not actually, I think this question really is better suited for you, Kiana, so I'm going to pitch it to you. Talk to us a little bit about final transcripts and just confirm that students do not have to get a final transcript to us before they attend orientation. That is a true statement, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so students who have been applying to us this year have been self-reporting their grades and their coursework to us, which means that for most students, we haven't ever received a transcript from their high school. We do need one. When is that due? And how would a student get that to us?
We would strongly advise that you get that to us as it becomes available from your high school. That way, that's one less item to have to worry about down the road. So once your high school has posted those final grades along with the graduation date on the transcript, you should go ahead and request that they send us that information. And once we do receive it and have processed it, added to the system, you will be able to view that update through your MyUCF portal. It will show that we have that final transcript in. Now, ideally, we advise that you have it in before the start of classes. You ultimately will have until the end of the first week, but definitely getting it in before the start of classes will help to avoid any holds on your student account, which again will stop the disbursement of your aid, but also will stop you from registering for future courses. So do not wait till the last minute to request to have this transcript sent over to us. Just make sure you get that into us as soon as your high school has that information available.
So yeah, and this is the first year that we're actually doing this in undergraduate admissions here at UCF, requiring the self-reported component to the transcript and then following up with a hard copy. So for students who are starting in summer, we're going to ask that you submit your transcript by June 15th. That gives us an opportunity then to review that transcript and get credit applied if you have AP, IB, dual enrollment credits, and do a final check just to make sure that everything was accurate when it was put in through the Spark form. For students who are beginning in the fall term, that date is being extended to July 15th. So that information will be communicated to you via email. It will be on our website. Actually, it is there now. So look for those periodic reminders about those deadlines. They are quite important for you, just to make sure that we have enough time on our end to audit that information and get that credit in so that it doesn't negatively impact you later. So I had lost my place in the Q&A here, but I know that there's no shortage of housing, so I'm just going to pick something. Sandy, a student, and I'm sure many students, heard that housekeeping was available once a week in our housing communities. Is that actually true?
Unfortunately, that has changed.
Okay.
Housekeeping is no longer available in any of the on-campus communities as of fall 21.
All right, thank you. So over the next couple of months, brush up on your cleaning skills, and parents, probably a good idea to pack in that little box that you're going to send with your student off to college, maybe some wipes and disinfectant stuff and pledge and all that other fun stuff. So thank you,
Chris, I
Sandy.
do want to jump in there and clarify that students do not need to bring vacuum cleaners. Those
Good.
can be checked out from the community offices.
Great. So, I mean, I think that opens up a great line of questioning here about what actually is included in a residence hall. And I know you had mentioned there is a packing list. Where can someone find that?
Yeah.
What are the basics, I guess, that are included in on-campus housing, and where can they look for that other stuff?
Gotcha. So all of our housing includes the furniture and all of the utilities. So water, power, sewer, high-speed internet.
Mhm.
Cable television is provided in some facilities, but not in any of the units located on the main campus. The main campus has the option of adding cable at an additional charge, but what we do provide is a resident movie channel. We call it Nightflix, and it's a little bit like Netflix, except newer movies, titles that are not yet available on any of the other streaming services, not out on DVD. So the university includes that with the rent. It's definitely an extra cost that we absorb, and it's a great service. It's really popular. So that kind of replaced cable a while back. As far as the furnishings, every student is going to have bed, desk, dresser, shelving unit, chair, and closet. If a student is living in one of our apartment style units, those do come with the living room furniture, and they come with all the major appliances. I say major, most do not come with microwaves, but the specifics of each of those are on the choices pages of our website. When I was encouraging folks earlier to check out our move-in pages, we have a lot of move-in information on our website. All of it is under the main resources tab from our homepage. So if you go to housing.ucf.edu, click on resources, there's a drop down of several different pages, and move-in is one. When you get to that main move-in page, you're going to see there are several sub-pages. We have it divided into before you arrive, move-in day, and after move-in. So now is the time to be scanning the before you arrive and the move-in day pages. But the packing list is located on the before you arrive page. And there's also a ton of great information there about what to expect when you arrive and different resources that are available on campus when you arrive. So lots of good information there.
Great, thank you. That's why this is called Know Before You Go. Got to know what to bring. Jenny, so one viewer had mentioned that they noticed that there is a section on the orientation website for downtown and a section for main campus. Is there a separate section for Rosen College, if that's the college or that's the campus that they plan on attending classes and living on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So for our Rosen students, we suggest you all register for our main campus orientation. In fact, during our orientation sessions, when you have advising and enrollment, your advising and enrollment session the morning of at 8:30, you all will be able to meet with your distinct colleges. So Rosen is one of those. So you'll see once you register for your main campus orientation session, you will be included into the FTIC orientation web course specifically for Rosen. And then you'll be able to meet with our Rosen advisors during the advising registration. But yes, there's not a specific place on our website for downtown main campus. So I would register for main campus.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Again, I keep losing my spot here. You would think I would have this pretty down pat by now. So there was a question about non-Florida residents. If a student is coming in from out of state, is there any kind, and this is a question for Sandy, is there any kind of priority for them for housing? And if they're unable to get on-campus housing, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the affiliated options that exist or other resources to help them find a place to live?
Sure. Housing is first come, first serve for in-state and out-of-state students. So unfortunately, no special priority. We do still have space. So if you apply soon, you'll get a room. If you end up needing to find accommodations off campus, UCF is affiliated with 2 off-campus properties. Those are the Point at Central and Night Circle. They are both very close by, both on the UCF shuttle, and they're similar to on-campus housing. They are fully furnished. Each student signs their own lease. Utilities are included. I believe there are some utility caps, but everything is included there. So definitely more options than just the main campus. And if you're seeking other accommodations, you affiliated is full, campus is full, you're applying pretty late in the semester, there are a lot of student properties nearby, and we have an office on campus called Student Neighborhood Relations. It's SNR. They just changed the name. And they have a really robust website with all of the off-campus properties listed. There's an interactive map, and you can check out that as well.
Great, thank you. I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to add 2 links into the chat, one for student neighborhood relations and another for that Florida residency declaration link. Those are 2 that I have seen come up here. Just if you could add those URLs in the chat, I'd appreciate it. So let's see here. How can we, I'm really sorry here. I'm like not finding the question that I wanted to ask. Okay, so Kiana, what about students who are maybe graduating after that deadline that we had mentioned before? So it's, again, June 15th for summer students, July 15th for fall students. Who can they contact if the school is unable to provide a transcript to them, or if their actual graduation date occurs past that actual date, which is perhaps common for some students who might be graduating outside of the state of Florida, where graduations tend to be a little bit later in the summer.
Yeah, so the students can definitely connect with us over undergraduate admissions. So our email address is admission@ucf.edu. Just go ahead and let us know the situation, and be sure to just get us that transcript as soon as it becomes available, so we can go ahead and have it added to the application file. But definitely just sending us an email so we are aware of the situation and the reason as to why you're not yet able to provide us with that final transcript, and just getting it in as quickly as possible.
Great. And on that same topic of transcripts, it is always a good idea for students to have an unofficial transcript, a final transcript, if it's possible, for you at the time that you go through orientation. So as Jenny mentioned before, summer orientations will begin taking place in mid-May. That's probably too early for many students to have a final transcript available, but you should have an unofficial in progress one handy. If you are going through an orientation session that's perhaps later in the summer, I would have a copy of that final transcript again available so that when you meet with an advisor, you can kind of go through perhaps some of the credit that you might have that might not have made it into your student portal, into your degree audit, prior to your orientation date. Again, the reason that we have these dates set up for you submitting that information to us is so that we in admissions have an opportunity to get all that credit into the system so that when you go to orientation, we have a full 360-degree view of everything that you've already done. Is that going to be possible in every single scenario? Perhaps it won't be. So having that document somewhere handy, can reference it and have a conversation with your advisor is going to be something that's very useful to you. Sandy, can you talk a little bit about laundry facilities on campus? Is that included in the housing fees, and where are they located?
Great question. Laundry is located in every housing community. Some communities have community-wide laundry rooms. In that case, there would normally be 2 of them. Some have laundry on every floor. And then if you're living at Northview, you have a washer and dryer in your unit. So at Northview, it is included. In the other communities, they are pay per load, like a normal laundromat. And I was about to say coin operated, but they're not anymore. We have an app now that students download and they pay through the app. And I want to know where this was when I was in college, because it tells you when the washers and dryers are available. It tells you when your laundry is done. They have no excuse for the moldy laundry now. So definitely convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just informed that I was giving a wrong date out, and I apologize. Again, this is very new to us in admissions. So the date to have that transcript submitted for summer students is June 30th, not June 15th. June 30th and July 15th, I did get that one right, is the date for fall students. So the 30th of June if you're starting in summer, the 15th of July if you are starting classes here in the fall. And thank you for the correction. Can we talk a little bit about summer courses and what that might look like? I don't know, that might be a question that either Kiana or Jenny could probably answer, but what do we anticipate kind of the mixture of online versus face-to-face, and how will things look in summer? And if you can even give a preview of fall, I know that things are still maybe a little bit up in the air, go ahead and do that too.
Kiana, I'll start, but then I would love for you to jump in if you have any perspective. From my understanding, summer will be a lot like what has been happening in fall and spring of this academic year, which is a mix of online and in-person courses. And there are different modalities that have been adapted to our courses based on COVID. So it's my understanding that that will continue through summer. Now, I know in fall, not too long ago, they released some news that they were going to try to have more in-person classes available for fall, if not more than all of them. So that is something that when your students are registering for their classes during orientation, they will want to make sure they note the course modality as they're searching for their courses. There are different modalities, and in fact, I can try to look online and see if there's a website that has a full explanation of all the course modalities, and that's something that academic advisors can work with students on too when they're searching for their classes and kind of helping them build their schedules. So I do know that summer will be still a mix, and then fall, I know that they're trying really hard to have majority of classes in person.
Yes, the only thing that I would add to that, because I do see that we have questions in regards to whether or not students can take online courses during the summer session. If you are part of our summer access program, your courses will be face-to-face this summer. If you are offered a general summer admission, then you can take online courses just from an undergraduate admissions perspective. We can never guarantee a student an online course. That's something, as Jenny mentioned, that you'll register for during the actual orientation session.
Terrific, thank you. Sandy, we have a couple questions about early move-in. One, is that possible? And two, does that apply to students who might be looking to rush in the fall?
A question that I unfortunately do not have answers to yet.
Right.
In a typical year, we would have move-in dates about a week before ordinary move-in. I'm sure we will try our best to accommodate that. It's going to depend a little bit on the testing vendor that works with us and how many days out we'll be scheduling move-in this year in order to accommodate testing and also provide move-in appointments that allow people to maintain appropriate distance. That's another reason for the appointment. So.
Right. Great, thanks. Kiana, another residency question here for you. Is there any way that a student who is classified out of state, can they qualify for in-state residency? What does that process look like?
Sure. So as long as the student is under the age of 24, they are still considered to be dependent on their parent or guardian. So if a parent or guardian is going to be outside of the state during your time here at the university, you would still be classified as a non-Florida resident. Now, not to get too into the weeds of it, it is possible to be independent, but for that, you do have to provide several documentation to show that you are an independent student. And the key thing is also showing that you're not here just for education purposes, that is going to be your state of residence. So again, there's some items that you'd have to provide, such as, W-2s potentially, driver's car registration, voter information, such as that. But the key takeaway is that if you're under 24, we are still looking at you as a dependent student.
Did it again. In our final few minutes here, can we, or can I just ask if there are any final thoughts from each of our panelists, any things that you think that we didn't touch on or expand upon enough, or maybe just one final piece of advice from you for our incoming new FTICs and their families. So we'll go to Kiana first. Is there anything that you can dispense that's perhaps useful? And then if you could also include in your answer a way to contact each of your offices. There are a lot of questions, unfortunately, that we weren't able to get to today. And so if you do have additional staff who would be able to answer those through email or phone call, whichever way you prefer, please let our families know how they can reach you. Kiana, go ahead.
Thank you. So definitely the key takeaway I want you all to take from this session as far as admissions is concerned is to please stay on top of the items that we need from you, monitor your MyUCF portals. If we need anything from you, whether it be AP, IB, scores, that final high school transcript or enrollment information, it's all going to be on the portal for you to be able to view. And in regards to residency, you can also check what your status is through the portal, whether you're good to go, we have you as Florida or non-Florida. And if you're in that pending status, it lets you know as well. That way you know to connect with our residency team, and they can let you know exactly what items you need to be updated accordingly. If you do have any other questions you couldn't address during this session, think of anything else after today, please connect with us. Again, our email is admission@ucf.edu, and one of my colleagues can also put that here in the chat for you all, so that way you know how to reach us, and we're definitely happy to answer any other questions that you think of. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny.
I was going through the Q&A, so I did see a few questions about the family and guest orientation. So I just wanted to highlight real quick that, again, this is a separate experience from the students' experience. So the students Orientation process will be focused on their experience. They are meeting with their advisor. They are talking to other students and meeting our student leaders and departments. And then our families and guests will have a separate experience. They will have their own Canvas course with their resources, and we will have weekly webinars throughout the whole entire summer, and the recordings will be available so our families and guests can take part in that experience. I did see questions about registering for that. The link, I just put that in the chat, orientation.ucf.edu/parents. Students, if you haven't registered already, you can add your family member or a guest to your registration. If you already went through the registration process and only registered for yourself, and families or guests want to register after the fact, that's the website you can go to. And then real quick, another thing, just wanted to highlight holds, making sure that students, you're aware that there will be a hold on your account. It's going to be an orientation hold. So holds will not allow you to register for your courses, but as long as you are participating in the orientation, once you get to your advising appointment with your advisor, who will sit down and help you work through which classes you should be taking, that hold will be lifted from your account. So if you do see an orientation hold, just know that it's because orientation is required, and that will be lifted once you attend.
Thank you, Jenny. Sandy.
I think what I want to share with everybody is that there are a ton of questions about housing, and it's complicated, we know. So there are lots of opportunities to attend additional housing information sessions. There will be one as part of this open house tomorrow. You'll see me again for an hour, and I have a ton of information I'll share then. In addition to that, housing holds weekly virtual tours. Those are much smaller groups, and those consist of about an hour-long online tour, very similar to this session, where some of our student ambassadors share information about housing. And so we kind of go through a presentation for about half of that time. The other half of the time is Q&A. So if you have more questions that you're not able to get answers to, you can meet us online there. And then I just dropped in the chat our website, our phone, and our email. Something we're pretty proud of is the fact that that phone is only answered Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 because it is answered by real live humans. So we have a staff of about a dozen professional housing staff members who answer that phone, and they are exceptionally knowledgeable. These are the same folks who answer our main email account, and they handle all the things: applications, payments, cancellations, questions about all of our rooms, what to do, when to move it, everything. So just that. I know there's lots of questions, and you can get in touch with us after this.
Thanks. It's a really great point to end on, is that we all realize that going to college can be an anxiety-ridden process, and there are probably a lot of things that you as family members and parents have never experienced before. And just know that there are staff who are here to help you. And if you contact admissions and we're not the right folks and can't answer your questions, we'll be sure to direct you to the appropriate office or get you in touch with someone who can. So feel free to reach out to us and utilize us as a resource for anything that pops up between now and orientation, or now and the start of classes. But we are here to help. The volume is high, and it gets very, very busy sometimes, especially around this time of year when everyone else is trying to make decisions and get information. So bear with us, but we will give you the attention and time that you deserve. It just may take a few minutes to get in touch with us. So again, we appreciate your time today, your patience throughout this whole process. Thank you to my colleagues, our panelists today, and of course, those behind the scenes answering questions in the chat. We really appreciate your time today. So please feel free to join us again tomorrow. Again, visit that agenda website for all of the times and different sessions. And we hope to see you again. So stay safe, everyone. Have a great night. Go Knights. Charge on.